and broadcast. We are live. Peace, peace. All right. I think we are live. Let me double make sure that we are. And we definitely are. We definitely are. Peace, peace, and love to the family. Thank you for all those that are joining us. Um, it's been a while since I had gone live. I'm with my brother Calico today. We're trying to we had a little conversation in his wall, and well, not a little conversation, but there was something brought up in one of his posts, and certain things were addressed. So we wanted to get into them to try to clear the air about certain things in regards about the post. First of all, Brother Calico, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna give you the floor just to present yourself and tell everybody your name and where they could find you. In the meantime, I'm gonna go and make sure that you are tagged on the post. All right.
Yes, sir. It's your boy D'Calico. Me and Taz always been down. Like be honest with you, me and him are like the number one CrumbTV affiliates there is. You know what I mean? But that's a whole another story. You know, uh, for the most part, me and Taz see eye to eye on so much, and to the point that I'm even a member of the official Flat Earth community with Taz. So you know, if you got if you still question if the Earth is round or flat, you know, I, I urge you to go join that group and come out find out, you know, come see the light.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Thank you for that, Brother Calico. Now, I'm gonna be pulling up in a few seconds. I'm just trying to make sure that you are tagged and everything is seems that it's up to date. So I wanted to go into your I wanted to go
Post itself.
into the post itself. So if I keep excuse my whatchamacallit, I'm using two computers and I gotta figure out which one it is that I'm that I'm using to begin with. But so let's see, we're gonna get to the post itself.
Yeah, matter of fact, I used the GIF. It was a GIF, and it showed Manny Pacquiao.
It's show okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I said, why do y'all think the people that look like Manny Pacquiao are the real Mexicans? You know what I mean?
Facts.
And most people their answer was because they are.
Yeah,
They are the original or real Mexicans, but they're not.
right, right. So here we have the post. I had to go get it together.
Mhm.
Um, and it says, why do y'all think the people look like Pacquiao are the original Mexicans? You know, and we had different responses. So we have some peoples that says because they are, and that's the one response that brought about a lot of information, a lot of very very factual information.
Mhm.
Now, one there was certain things, misconceptions that I wanted to address, not to contest anything of what the family had said here. A lot of the stuff is actually very factual. But
Mhm.
some of the way that the family presented and portrayed the information was a little biased. And I'm gonna get into why it was a little biased. Um, you can't make an assumption about a whole situation just based on information that has been given to us by white folks or by the systems, you know, or by so there were
Bingo.
assumptions made in regards about, you know, well, um, uh, Mexicans, or it was mainly Mexicans that it was talked about in the post. That they weren't that they were racist. And that they were not pro black, and they were more leaning towards being pro white. I can't really contest that. I can't really contest that, because the fact is that a lot of the so-called Latin American community, we do not relate often when it comes to the public eye. When it comes to the public eye, what we see superficially, a lot of what is presented to us is not people that actually are pro-black. But if we look at the history and what actually has been going on between our people, we find something completely different. We find
Mhm.
something completely different. This whole superficial shit that we're seeing, where black against brown, and we've always been against each other, and we've always leaned more towards to our Caucasian counterparts, because we do have Caucasian in us, because we were conquered. We our country, we they call it amalgamation. I call it rape. So they came to the land, and the original people that were here, the women were raped, and they were mistreated. But we have to come to the understanding that these ancestors didn't believe in abortion, and that's the
Mhm.
reason why a lot of us are here today. If you made a post about Mendo's law, with a little picture that you had gotten. When we looked at Mendo's law, there is no way for me to get, even though it might be a light dark tone and it's a brownish tone, but there is no way that I could have gotten my dark tone from somebody white. It does not
Mhm.
correlate with Caucasian's DNA, and with Mendo's law, which states that the dark gene is always dominant, no matter what
Mhm.
you mix it with. Once you mix it with it, the lighter genes, or the genes that are more superficial, they're not as strong, and their features and their characteristics are not going to dominate when it comes to the whole of the person.
Yeah.
The darker gene is always gonna dominate. So
Or the people in the whole, and that's what our people need to come to terms with, because if these people are mixed, if anybody in the world, whatever culture or people, if they are mixed, then according to Mendel's law, then they are predominantly black. So we should be, you know, holding our people a lot closer instead of pushing them away because they have amalgamated, or like you say, had it forced upon them. You feel me? That
right
shouldn't be, like
now,
we using any reason we can to be divided, and it's very sad. It ain't gonna get us anywhere.
right. Now, when we look at the history here within the United States, and what has been presented to us on the news, and what has influenced our way of being, in the streets of America. When I say America, I'm talking about the United States. uh, um, how it's influenced, the way something's been portrayed has influenced the way everybody looks at the fact of browns and blacks. And what I want to portray is something beyond what the news is portraying, what is being seen by a few people. You cannot blame an entire people for the actions of a small group.
Yeah.
All right. That's exactly what has been done for centuries, which is very unfortunate to the black community, because the ones that they portray on the news is gangbangers and thugs and rappers and all that. Since that's what's portrayed, then that's all we have to create an idea of what supposedly is the black community. But we all know that's not what it is. We can't base the entire whole of the black community based on a few people that are acting a fool, because we have that in all races, regardless of what. Now, there's only one race. There's only the human race. And when we look at the word human, that means the people of color. All right. So, I mean, obviously, you know that the darker you are, the more in touch you are with nature. You know, you are a human. You have a hue to you. You're not. I mean, I'm not gonna get into, you know, where Caucasians came from or anything like that. You know, those are my perceptions. But we already know who the original people of this world originally were and what came about because of certain situations. But now getting into it, let's look at something further than was being presented to us. So if I could share my screen, Brother Calico.
Yes, sir.
I have right here an article that's called The Little Known Underground Railroad That Rounds South to Mexico. All right. Now, we all know about these wet bags, you know, that are always trying to come across the border, swimming across the river, you know, trying to get across. You know, they're always trying to come to the American dream. I don't know how much the family remembers, but if we want to look at the original origins of this, the original wetbacks, or the ones that were coming across the river, were black folks. Nobody's contesting the fact that the original peoples of the Americas were dark toned. Nobody's contesting that. What we're talking about is the difference between what is known now as Latin America and the United States. All right. And what has been happening in between what's left of the original races, which is the black people and the people that have been amalgamated, which is, you know, the brown skinned, you know, the so-called Latinos. We know we ain't Latinos because Latin comes from Europe, which is in Rome, you know, so we know that's a whole misconcept. You know, our history or our story has been taken away, and now all we have is his story. That's all we have is what he's saying. All right, that's all we have. But the people, the original people that were going around, that were going across this river, which is the Rio Grande, was black folks. Why were they going across? They were running from slavery to Mexico, Brother Calico.
Yeah.
They were running away from slavery to Mexico. I thought Mexicans were racist as hell.
Exactly. You know, let the modern African American tell it. You know.
Why would I
see what
if I'm a black American? Why would I leave one country from being a slave to go to another one that's even more racist? That don't make no sense.
No.
That don't make no sense whatsoever. So there has to be another story, because if you're going someplace else, there has to be something to it. So let's look at what it is that was happening. Are you frozen, Brother Calico, or that's only on my end?
Nah, my phone was tripping. That's why I was trying to get it together. I just got it.
Oh, okay. I was like, is he frozen or what happened? All right. So you know, when we look at what was happening during those times, there was a lot of blacks, a whole lot of blacks that were running to this country that everybody tells us that it was so racist. Why were they running over there? Well, it turns out, Brother Calico, that the laws in regards to black people in Mexico are actually very pro-black. are actually very pro-black. The Mexican-American War, in which Mexico lost all of its northern territories. It lost Texas, it lost Arizona, it lost California, all those major states that you know now that used to be Mexican territory, they were lost because of the Mexican-American War, which was the war between the United States and Mexico over Texas. What was so important about Texas? Texas had railroads, underground railroads, in which these light-skinned motherfuckers that were supposedly so racist, they were coming across the border to come get their brothers, their black brothers, to run them back across Mexico, because the laws in Mexico stated that you could not enslave somebody based on the color of their skin. And Mexico, to this day, today, brother Calico, to this day, today, in their laws, in their constitution of Mexico today, it clearly states that if you are if you're running away from slavery or subjugation in the United States, you are more than welcome to come to Mexico.
Exactly.
And there's no
and brother,
extradition. They'll never turn you into the United States, no matter what you're running from. Even if you were bogus and wrong, they still won't turn you in.
Hey, brother, I see somebody in the comments section like thinks that you probably made up what you were saying about Mendel's law. You might want to pull up Mendel's law and put it on the screen so they can see you. You know, not so that so they can know that you're not adding anything to it or taking anything away. You feel me?
Yeah, no,
Obviously, they think this is your opinion that you were stating, saying how the darkness is close to nature. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not understanding that Mendel's law is using the color purple to give this demonstration, but still that's a very dark hue. You know what I mean? So the same applies. Is that's what we were saying about humans too. But as soon as you show this, I mean, at least they'll be able to realize that this ain't no opinionated stuff, and it's definitely
we
not
have
racist.
here, what are the 3 Mendelian laws of heredity? Mendel's law studies 3 laws of inheritance: the law of dominance, the law of segregation, and the law of independent assignments. Each can be understood through examining the process of meiosis. Where are Mendel's laws, dominance, state?
Or if you had if you would have looked it up on Facebook and found that same post, that would have been sufficing. You know what I mean?
Isn't it in your wall?
Yeah, it's gonna be farther. You probably have to just as soon as you search Mendel's law, it'll give it to you. Cause ain't too many people posting stuff like that. And for one, that was your post that I shared.
Yeah. Mendel's law. Here we go. So it says Mendel's law of heredity. By crossing purple and white pea plants, Mendel's found the offsprings were purple rather than mixed, indicating one color was dominant over the other. Dark genes are dominant while light genes are recessive. Mendel's pea plants is one of his experiments of inheritance patterns. Mendel's crossed plants that were true breeding for violet flower color with plants true breeding for white flower color, the P generation. The resulting hybrids in F1 generations all had violet flowers. In the F2 generation, approximately 3/4 of the plants had violet rays and 1 had white flowers. All right. And we have a little picture of what it is that's showing, but you could clearly Just search for Mendel's law yourself and study it. And
Yes, sir.
study it. Don't believe nothing I'm saying.
And I
Go
mean,
ahead, bro.
in just talking, and just talking in common terms or layman terms, or just trying to talk common sense to people like that. I love to be like, with Mexicans, I've asked plenty of them. I'm like, as far farther back you go, the darker it gets. Like their grandmother or her mother was, it's 9 times out of 10 she was dark skinned. You know what I mean? And they know this. You feel me? And like you say, within a few generations, the skin color has changed. And, this ain't going back to ancient history. This is not really in antiquity. This is something in the last couple of generations.
Right, facts. But this is just genetics, and this is not us talking. And by the way, Mendo, he's a Caucasian. This is not,
Yeah,
this wasn't a black dude that said this, or a Hispanic dude or Latino or whatever label you want to place,
right.
or whoever
Yeah,
it is. This came
it,
from
it was a yeah. Yeah,
this,
it came from a recessive person,
right,
a person with recessive genes.
right,
Yeah,
facts. So
yes,
I
sir.
mean, so this is not something. I wish I could pull up.
I mean, you definitely got to pull up Vincent Guerrero so that
Right.
they can see who the
I was
who the
addressing, the whole
matter
mental
of fact,
stuff in her.
the first president of Mexico. You know
Bro,
what I mean?
uh, um, to go back into, like Brother Calico says, let me read something to you real quick, just so the family could get an understanding of what it is that we're talking about. All right. And it says, the Underground Railroad ran south as well as north for slaves in Texas. Refugee in Canada must have seemed impossible far away. Fortunately, slavery was also illegal in Mexico. Researchers estimate 5,000 to 10,000 people escaped from bondage into Mexico, says Maria Hammock, who is writing her dissertation about this topic at the University of Texas at Austin. But she thinks the actual number could be even higher. There were clandestine routes, and if you got caught, you will be killed and lynched. So most people didn't leave a lot of records, says Hammock. There is some evidence that Tejanos, or Mexicans in Texas, acted as conductors on the southern route by helping people get to Mexico. In addition, Hammock has also identified as a black woman and two white men who helped enslaved workers escape and try to find a home for them in Mexico. Find a home in Mexico? In the racist country? Okay, let's continue. Mexico abolished slavery in 1821 when Texas was still a part of the country, in part prompting white slave-holding immigrants to fight for independence in the Texas Revolution. Brother, the fact that Mexico was willing to harbor slaves, that triggered the war for Texas, because that was the key. That was the biggest piece of land to where these slaves were going across into freedom. And who was helping them? Who was helping them to get across? Who
Yeah, the
it, it,
Mexicans.
it was these Mexicans that were helping them to get across. Now, this is presented even further more in the Mexican Constitution, where they literally instituted the fact that it will always be okay to harbor people that are running away from subjugation and slavery in the
In the
United
U.S.
States. All right,
Yeah, just like Castro.
right. Just like Castro, you could have went to
Yeah,
Cuba anytime, anytime.
yeah,
If you're running away from the United States, and they ain't coming over here to get you, because
hmm
even though you weren't born there, they were gonna fight for you.
yep,
If your plan
yep.
was to try to get away from the United States, they were gonna help you.
hmm
Right? But that's a very good point. Now it says
Hey,
enslaved people in Texas were aware that there was a country to the south where they could find different levels of freedom. Though indentured debt servitude existed in Mexico, it was not the same as chattel slavery. Hammock has discovered one runaway named Tom who had been enslaved by Sam Houston. Houston was a president of the Republic of Texas who fought in the Texas Revolution. One Tom got across the border, then joined the Mexican military that Houston fought against. But you know what? Before I even go any further, just look
And
at
that's
the fact
crazy.
that this is being presented by
Ham,
this is being
yeah,
presented
and hey,
by
yeah, the history channel.
right. This is not Sergio, I mean, Taz, conspiracy.com or,
And
or, or, or CalicoBlackPower.com. No, this is being presented
yeah,
by the History Channel, okay? We're just
hey,
presenting the information to you guys, all right?
and the name of the sister, that you keep reading about is Hammock. You know what I mean? And you know, ham means black. You feel me?
Facts.
Yeah. So, you know, that's almost like etymologically, that's a dead giveaway. You
Yeah.
feel me? Real.
Right. Now, where were we? It says, here, fugitive slaves got to Mexico in many different ways. Some went on foot, while others rode horses or snuck aboard ferries bound for Mexican ports. Stories spread about enslaved people who crossed the Rio Grande, dividing Texas from Mexico by floating on bales of cotton. And several Texas newspapers reported in July 1863 that 3 enslaved people had escaped this way. Even if this wasn't logistically possible, the imagery of floating to freedom on a symbol of slavery was strong. But it wasn't until enslaved people in Texas who found freedom in Mexico. I have found individuals who made it all the way north to Carolina, Mississippi, Lewis, and Alabama, Hammock says. Slave owners knew that enslaved people were escaping to Mexico, and the U.S. tried to get Mexico to sign a fugitive slave treaty, just as the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 had compelled free states to return escapes to the South. The U.S. wanted Mexico to return escaped slaves to the U.S., but Mexico refused. But Mexico refused to sign such a treaty. Instead, that all enslaved people were free when they set foot in Mexican soil. Despite this, some U.S. slave owners still hire slave catchers to illegally kidnap escapees into Mexico. So they were still sending people illegally to come into the country to get these runaway slaves. And I think we lost Brother Calico. We're gonna wait around to see what he's saying. But continuing on, it says it's unclear how organized the Southern Underground Railroad was. Hammock says some enslaved people may have found their way to Mexico without assistance. Other evidence suggests Tejanos, especially poor Tejanos, played a part in helping escapees get to Mexico. All right. Now, Hammock and researchers Rosa and Barca Garza have also identified a mixed race family from Alabama who moved to southern Texas near the Rio Grande and helped enslaved people escape to Mexico. The wife, Matilda Hicks, was formerly enslaved woman. Her husband, Nathan Jackson, was the son of a man whose plantation she used to work on. In addition, some northern abolitionists traveled south to help enslaved people reach Mexico. I have come across abolitionists from the north who were going to Mexico to petition Mexico to allow them to buy land to establish colonies for runaway slaves and free blacks. Welcome back, Brother Calico.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hammock says in the early 1830s, Quaker abolitionist
Abolition.
Benjamin
Yeah.
Lundy was actively petitioning the Mexican government to allow for colonies to be established for, I guess, what we would consider now refugees.
Mhm.
Lindy's plan to start free colonies in Mexican Texan region was thwarted when it separated from Mexico and it legalized slavery again. What triggered the war between the United States and Mexico, brother Calico, was the fact that Mexico was blatantly freeing black people the minute they set foot on Mexican soil. To this day,
Mhm.
you can still do it.
Exactly.
Do you know, brother Calico, that if you are a convict, you will not be issued a passport?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. That means you can never leave.
Right, you can't
You know what I
travel.
mean?
Once
Yeah.
you become a part of the system and you are a convicted felon, you will not. I'm not sure if it's always that way, but I know that most times they will not give you a passport so you could travel outside of the country. But guess what?
No, they won't. No.
This day, today's day, today, if you get
Yeah.
across the border to Mexico, you're
You
free.
straight.
You're
Yeah.
free.
Yes,
And
sir.
Mexico will help you to this day to do what they need for you to do what you need to do to be a free person outside of the United States. All right.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah. Like if you could look up the how old are the Choctaw people? You feel me? Because because they playing a big part in all of this also when it comes to Texas and Mexico, and Eastern America. You feel me?
facts,
The
facts.
Choctaw, because a little small known fact.
Spell that for me, brother.
The Choctaw. How old are the Choctaw people?
How old are the spell chapter for me?
CHOCTAW. You know,
C
they all
A
say Choctaw, but I want to use the term Choctaw.
C
You
H
know,
O E U C H O D Y.
CHOCTAW.
The Choctaw tribe.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go, and it says, who were the Choctaw? The Choctaw Indian tribe lived in the American southeast for about
Mhm.
1,800 years. They migrated from modern Mexico and Western America and settled in the Mississippi River Valley area.
Yes, sir. You
Facts.
feel me? See, Choctaw is because they are the chocolate people. You feel me? But even deeper, I'm going to say a little small known fact that most people don't really know. But like the Mayans, the money that the ancient Mayans used was chocolate. They used chocolate as money. You feel me? That's what they
Facts.
had an abundance of, and that's what they would shape and form. Like they were the first ones making candy out of it and making it look, making it look like art. You feel me? This was
Facts.
money. You feel me? We
Facts.
really had it wrapped up in the gold for whatever we choose. Like they don't understand even the Olmecs, which are the Choctaw. The Choctaw are the direct descendants of the Olmecs. You feel me? Even the Olmecs,
No,
Olmec meaning
big nose, white
Olmec,
lips, all Negro
yeah,
features.
yeah. See, Olmec meaning rubber. You know what I'm saying? So these are the rubber people. You feel me? Like 5,000 years ago, you want to think that Jesus and people like that were wearing slides, with something stuck between their toes, walking on a piece of wood. No, we had rubber. You feel me? Over here in Americas, they were already making rubber. Like when Christopher Columbus came and he ran into these Olmec descendants, and Tainos and sort, like they had balls, right? Rubber, like the kickballs and the basketballs and these football, these oblong, different kind of balls. We've been making that for eons. And Christopher Columbus took that to Isabella and them, and these were grown ass people playing with these like toys. You know what I mean? Because they are toys. You know, it's ball. You know, but they had never seen anything of the sort until they encountered us.
Fact.
And I just showed you that they are the Choctaw people. You feel me? And even now to this day, we can still see what the Choctaw is. The Choctaw are the chocolate people. You feel me? So when we saying brown pride, we need to know I'm brown, you know, just like you brown. That people don't want to know what Moorish mean. Like you are Moorish, you know, I am a Moor, but that means we are one. You know what I'm saying? We are both, you know what I'm saying? Come on. Like, and you proud to have that rich bloodline and that rich history. And you know, and our people need to be proud to have, you know, like-minded individuals like you on board. You feel me? Because you know, all this division ain't making no sense because it pretty much all started with slavery. When they called us a Negro, you feel me? They named named the people that we think are Mexicans, they named them Chinos, a Chino, Chino. If you want to look up a Chino slave for the people. But the Chinos were basically you know, that's just like what they call the Negro, except these are Filipinos. But that's a wrong term to also call them. They would have never called themselves Filipinos. They call themselves Moro. They were Moros. You feel me? A Moro, like Moraco. You feel me? But you feel me? These are what we call in Filipino or Philippines. You feel me? So like the people like Pacquiao, like the poets I said, that's why people think, oh, those are real Mexicans. But they were brought here. You feel me? They were enslaved. You feel me? And they were given the term Chino. You feel me? First, they were given the term Filipino, which they hated. Those people really hate that term. You feel me? The indigenous of that land know that they're mortal. You feel me? And they, you know, the Italians or the Romans that conquered them called them Filipino. And then once they made it over here as slaves, they became Chinos. You feel me? Just like us going from a Moor to a Negro to a colored person and so on and so forth.
Right, facts.
Like, did you pull up Chino slaves?
Yeah, I have it right here. Let me pull it up for you. Um, Chino slave. The end of Chino slavery came to an end in late 18th century because the Spanish crown included Chinos in its campaign to eradicate indigenous slavery.
Mm.
I can't find too many Chino slave.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
But I can't really find that too much on that. Oh, the Asian slaves in colonial Mexico. Here we go.
Or check out the imagery. See what they're giving you when we look at the images.
When we look at the images,
Bam. You know, it's you know, and we use all these different words and terms nowadays unknowingly or unwittingly. You feel me? Because we don't even really know what we're saying. You feel me? And just like calling our brothers Negroes, they're not Negroes.
look
You
at
know,
people in places. One Chino woman loves to share her history. Brother, she looks
that's why I say mortal means more. You feel me? They are mortal. You feel me? And they call them Filipino or they call them Chinos. But as you can see, she's a perfect representation of a real Mexican. You know what I'm saying? Because she has the Chino, she has the Choctaw to a degree. You know what I mean? She has that Aztec feature. You feel me? You can see like she's a great representation of that land.
facts. Now, one thing that we got to remember is maybe people ever heard of the one drop rule?
Well, yeah.
You know, so when we look at, you know, all these other people, there was a rule to it that is stated, you know, the one drop rule is a social and legal principle of racial classification that was historically prominent in the United States in the 20th century. It asserted that any person with one S ancestor of sub-Saharan African ancestry is considered black.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, sir.
is there a lot of Mexicans and Latinos that are, you know, that are very pro-white out there? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. I'm pretty sure there is, but they'll never be
It's all
accepted by the
breeding.
white race. They'll never be
No,
accepted by the white race ever, because they
can
fall under the one drop rule.
can you show these people what the original Aztecs look like?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You, before I do that, you made a reference before that, that I didn't get to, I didn't get to answer your question, and I completely bypassed it just to get it out the way, brother. When I tell you who was the first black president in the Americas,
Mm-hmm.
what, who do you think of?
I mean, Mexico doesn't come to mind. You feel me? With Vincent Guerrero. I mean, but I'm not really sure. I think he was like in the 1800s, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah, he
Well,
was.
that mean, what that would mean the Continental Congress existed beforehand. You feel me? And there was like 7 presidents before George Washington. That were they all had native descent in them. You feel me? They were
Okay.
all native. Everybody loves to say that the first one, John Hanson, was a white guy. You know, but I mean, these people act like they have never, like, these Masons don't don't swap places in history. They do that. You feel me? Because for one, we over here calling a white guy, George Washington, when you won't find one more Washington that's his color. You know what I mean? You won't find a European with the name Washington, but we're gonna think that he hasn't switched characters. Like he hasn't switched places with somebody else's history. You feel me? And the same thing could go for John Hanson, but even if not, it doesn't matter. The other 6 presidents before him were all, pretty much native to this land. All of them were a part of a tribe. Yeah.
Now something happened in this racist ass place called Mexico that you know that we keep on saying that it's a very racist place. For some reason, once it was already colonized and it was it was mainly light-skinned people or brown people, whatever you might want to call them. Something odd
Mm-hmm.
happened. The second ever president of the country of Mexico was a black man. Like
Mm-hmm.
what?
Mm-hmm.
Who? It was a black man. Who was
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. Y'all
If
take
we
a look.
look, if we look at Vicente Guerrero, all right. Let me make this bigger so the family um could see it. 1 second.
Or you can go to images. You can go to images if you like.
Yeah, I want the family to read exactly what it says. Not only here,
Yeah.
but in the Wikipedia as well. It says Vicente Ramón Guerrero Saldaña was one of the leading revolutionary generals of the Mexican
Mm-hmm.
War of Independence. He fought against Spain for independence in the 19th century and later served as president of Mexico, coming to power in a coup. Hmm. Let's read about this guy, this Guerrero guy. What does it say about Guerrero? It says Vicente Ramón Guerrero Saldaña was one of the leading revolutionary generals. He fought against Spain for the independence of 19th century and later served as president of Mexico, coming to power into coup. He was of what? An Afro mestizo. He was an Afro mestizo descendant, championed the cause of Mexico's common people and abolished slavery during his brief term as president. And if we click on Afro-Mestizo, it says Afro-Mexican, also known as Black Mexicans, are Mexicans who have predominant heritage from sub-Saharan Africa and identify as such. As a single population, Afro-Mexican includes individuals descendants from Spanish colonial era transatlantic slave trade. So the second president of Mexico was a black man. The second president in the history of Mexico was a black man. Now press 1 if you knew this. If you knew that the second president to ever exist in the history of Mexico was a black man. If you knew this, press 1 and let me know that you were aware of this, because a lot of people are not aware of this. But we keep on stating that this country is such a racist place. Welcome back, Brother Cali. All right, but throughout the whole history of what we've seen in the true history of the encountering of these brown people and black people, we've always managed to come together. We've always managed to come together, but they've portrayed us. They portrayed us as you know, as enemies, and you know, as we hate each other and we're racist, you know, to the point that now we don't even realize our own history, the history that we had before.
And watch this. See, we love to say like Moors are master builders. You feel me? My sons, you know, Masons, right? So obviously the Mexicans are Masons because they are master builders. You feel me? Like we can't even see the connection. Like we just walking around in the dark and can't notice who doing the same thing that we doing and not realize, oh, that's my blood right there. You know what I mean? That's cuz right there. You know what I'm saying? That's my brother right there. You feel me? But we gotta wake up and stop being divided.
This is Mexico and his second president. Let's go even further down and let's go to my home country and let's see who was the Mayan warrior that everybody loves so much. Let's talk about Tikkun Uman from Guatemala. Who is Tikkun Uman? Let me make it smaller because it looks a little Tikkun Uman. Now, when we look at Tikkun Uman, let's look at pictures, images. We find out, where is he at? That it's a
Uman. Yeah, and Uman looks just like the name Amun. You know what I mean?
Yes, facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Now, who was Tikkun Uman? Which is in our money. Look at that nose, brother. Look at those lips.
Yes,
look at those features.
Yes, sir.
That don't look like a Caucasian to me.
Hey, like me and you had this discussion before, because I talk about how like when George W. Bush had went to Brazil, and you know, he had to have a translator, and as he was talking to the people, in the first, like one of the first things he told them, looking out to the crowd of like thousands and thousands of people, he was like, you know, he in Brazil for the first time, and he was like, he told the translator, or the translator repeated what he said to the people, and everybody laughed because he had just told the people. He said, I never knew there were so many black people in Brazil, and the translator told the people that, and the whole crowd laughed, and he was like feeling small. He's like, man, what everybody laughing about? You know, and the translator told him personally, he say South America is 60% black. You know what I'm saying? Or Brazil, you know what I mean? And I remember telling you that, and you like, man, I've been to Brazil, man. I think it's 90% black.
Yeah, that's what I was about to tell you. I was like, I think it's more like 80 or 90% black, but you know, they're being too lenient on the numbers. But you know,
Yeah.
no matter what country you go to, it doesn't matter which country you go to. It could be Guatemala, it could be El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. You could go to Honduras, where we found our Dr. Savy. Dr. Savy. Now, who cured who cured Dr. Savy?
Yeah, and yeah, the one who taught him.
And who taught everything to Dr. Savy? The one person, the black man from Honduras that we worship so much, and that we keep on saying that this man, his life came short because of what he was trying to, his message that he was trying to portray. What was his message? His message was that there's only one disease. There's only one disease, and that disease is mucus. Is mucus. Everything else is created by the way we eat, by the air we're breathing that's contaminated, by the water that we're drinking that's contaminated, by our being away from nature. All that is causing. Give me 1 second, brother. Before I gotta, if you could just elaborate to the people real fast. I gotta plug up the computer before I go whatchamacallit, I go dark.
Yes, sir. If anything, I definitely got to talk to seven God a lot. I mean, the sisters say blind following people who can't see. I mean, what is it that you see, sister? You know what I mean? Because I want to see like you, since you know so much better. Are you saying that being divided is the way between the Negro and the Chino, or the Moor and the Morto? I mean, we over here trying to connect dots. You feel me? And that's exactly what we're doing. We showing you who the natives of this land are. You feel me? And regardless, nobody should be in a disagreement that is not the gringo. You feel me? A gringo is a European. You feel me? The gringo this definitely isn't his land. So let us merge our South American brothers and our North American brothers as best we can. You know, I was just addressing I guess Seven God Allah, how
Oh,
she in the
that's my
comment
brother.
section. Oh
That's
yeah.
actually that's actually my brother. My brother. We grew up together. We've like literally next to each other since we're like small.
Oh, he was talking about Gio and Nettie. I ain't know who that is. Okay. My
Yeah,
bad, brother.
yeah,
Yeah, because I see him say, Gio, what's the point
yeah.
of this conversation?
My name is Sergio. My
Yeah, okay, yeah.
real name is
Yeah.
Sergio.
I thought you was talking about that other.
So I'm assuming that he's calling me Gio for that. So, anyways, you know, so he could further understand what it is what we're trying to portray. He's like, what's the message that you're trying to portray? One of the message that I'm trying to portray to the people is that what we see superficially in what's going on just here is not what represents the rest of these countries outside of America. We already know that America is a whole goddamn continent. It's not just the United States. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The people within other countries, from Mexico to Guatemala, Central America, South America, we are the vast majority of us are very pro-black, if you want to say it that. We've always had this unity. We've always followed our ancestors, all followed nature's law. We always looked into things differently that the Caucasians. This all started, just to answer to my brother Seven. This all started over a post that my brother Calico posted in regards about who the original Mexicans were, you know, and there was this there was this environment being built as to all Latinos were this way, and that even the countries outside over there, Mexico and all these other countries, were very, very racist. And if you've never been there, you cannot give your opinion on somewhere that you've never experimented, you've never went there and actually experienced this. You just heard this. And though here in America, Mexicans and a lot of Latinos are very, very racist, that is not the case in all these other countries. One group of asshole people does not classify the whole goddamn nation. All right? That's to say that my brother go and kill somebody, so that make me a murderer. What?
No.
So you gonna hit me and hang me because of what my brother did?
You know how they are. They'll be like, you come from a family of murderers. You know what I mean? It could be two people in the whole family done killed somebody. You come from a family of murderers. You know? It's like, it's ridiculous. You know?
Right. The brother Seven said everything derived from black. That is an absolute fact. We all come from the triple darkness of our mother's womb. From the darkness of her womb, we come forth into the light. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Everything is created. That's why we were talking about Mendel's law. Darker genes are dominant over lighter genes. This is the Mendelian law that that Caucasians have put in place, where if anything mixes with a darker gene, it immediately becomes darker skin. You cannot grab two Caucasians and create a black dude or a black woman, but you could grab two black people and you could have Caucasian, per se, or a light-skinned, blue eyes, blonde hair person, because from the color black, right, all colors, all hues, because we are the human race. All right. Peace and love to the God Robert Boyd III. So from that, we understand that. Now when we talk about Bowman, which is Dr. Sadie, the Honduran herbalist, he was going around healing people with herbs, with the natural way of doing things. Now the person that cured Dr. Sadie was a Mexican. He went to Mexico and he had dementia. He had diabetes. He had problems with his bones. He was obese. He had mental issues. He was all over the place. He was
gonna die by 30.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like he had, he was impotent and everything. And Dr. Sebi, he died around like 80 years old, and Dr. Sebi had like a 5-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like a 6-year-old, like a little kid. Dr. Sebi was impotent around 28 years old, but through that healthy diet, he was cured of his impotency and had all of his children, by the grace of God, and even had a younger child when he was in his 70s.
Facts. He did though.
Hey, we're coming up on an hour though. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, we're coming up an hour. Well, we appreciate the family. We remember this information we're presenting to you guys is for you guys to go and do your own research, not to be taken as the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You go look it up and fit in the slots and see what it makes you feel like. Now, this whole portrayal of if you're light skinned, you have to be racist, and everybody's racist in Central America and South America. Family, if you've never been to Mexico, you can never say that. If you've never studied the laws that rule that land right now, and the people that used to live there, that used to reign that land before, and the indigenous people that reign that land, we're not talking about the Aztecs or the amalgamated version no, we're talking about originals. We're talking about the Olmecs, the old Mexicans. All right, we're talking about the Mayans that reigned Central America. We're talking about all the people in South America, like the Incas. When you look at the Incas' walls, you see nothing but black people. All right. It don't matter where you go in the world. That's what it. That's what it. Oh, nobody's contesting that. What we are contesting is the fact that we didn't ask for this, and what is being portrayed as all of us as a whole is not what it truly is. With that said, brother, if you could tell the family one more time where they could find you and your name and your last comments, it'll be greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir. You know, it's your boy D'Calico, you know, always trying to connect some dots. You feel me? Stay connected with the right people. So you feel me? Like our people should know that it really ain't about color when it comes to loyalty. You know what I'm saying? And then you can tap in to a person's heritage if you really care about the color so much. Then care about that his grandmother was a Moor. You know what I mean? Know that that means he's Moorish also. I mean, we got to stop dividing and trying to conquer. You know, or we gonna be conquered. You know what I mean? Because we have to come together because other people that are together will take us down. You feel me? So I'm just urging all of the master builders. You feel me? Whether you call them a Mexican or a Negro or a Chino, African, whatever you want to call my people, we all are one family, and it's about that time, you know, that we get back together.
Facts, facts. Greatly appreciate you, brother, for your time and your effort in providing this message for the
And
family.
one last thing, you know, y'all can always check me out on the ALHambra Society. You feel me? And check out my Supreme Shock Etymology series. You know, we always breaking them words down. So,
Facts,
you know, get with
facts,
me.
facts. So, with that said, you can find us both, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can find us all throughout all these social media places through CrumbTV. All right. Subscribe. Make sure that you like the video, share it. Put your input in the on the comment section. Is there something that you might want to add, or is there something that you might want to debate about? Maybe we could have brother Calico again, and we could look further into Moorish science, into more science. We could look further into the origins of the Aboriginal people of this land, of the indigenous people of this land, how we all came about, and again, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, and we're gonna leave you guys the same way that we came to you guys, in peace.